Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now you're seeing in front of you King Kordax from Aquaman 2 holding the javelin of Prince Namor, which is a Marvel figure, the same guy that appeared in the film Wakanda Forever. So we're going to come in close just to have a quick look at this guy before we move it on. And I do love this figure, and as I've said in the past, he was 10 quid, and I really like this figure. Even though he wasn't in the movie for very long, I do like the way he looks with this javelin in his hand. He actually has a trident, but you're not going to see that trident for a couple of minutes because this review is covering Prince Namor on a flight stand with the trident. Now, Prince Namor is not my comic book Namor. My comic book Namor, as I said before, is actually a guy that looks a bit like Mr. Spock in his face, and his father is King Neptune, and he has a bit of an opinion about land dwellers, but he does end up fighting alongside, I think, the Avengers. So the review is going to cover basically Namor with this figure's trident, and I've got a few other figures that you're going to see on camera. So that's what the whole review is about. So we're going to pause that and move on with the review. So we're back with Prince Namor, also known as Kukulkan Khan, holding the trident of King Kordax. And I quite like that look. And as I watched that film, Wakanda Forever, I always thought, well, you should have just stuck to the original comic book look of Namor. But I suspect the filmmakers thought it was a bit too close to the Aquaman look. So I kind of got it. And overall, I did like him in the film. But I thought if you'd have stuck a trident in his hand, it would have been a more dynamic character. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. So that's him with the trident. And I'm not sure if I'll actually keep that trident with him. I don't like to mess about. He's a Marvel figure, and this is a trident from the DC figure King Kordax. But at the end of the day, what I'm going to do now is just change out his hand there for a fist, just to see what that looks like on camera. So I'll just pull it back now. Let's see what it looks like from a distance. Yeah, I might get rid of that big shell. In fact, I will do that and put in the fighting fist of this figure. So I'll put in the fighting fist, just changed out his pose slightly. So I'm just going to get some angle shots, quite like that. So yeah, when I was reviewing him with the Black Panther figures, I kind of thought it's about time this guy got on a flight stand, and as I mentioned in that review, I've ordered a load of flight stands, so you'll see not just him and some of the characters today on footage, you'll see those as well. I'm thinking of putting my Green Lanterns on flight stands, so I'm gonna start putting figures on flight stands because it's good to add that dynamic to your collection section. And I'll come in close, because his likeness is there if you've watched the film. So what we're going to do is take him off the platform and bring on the other figures that you're going to see today. Let's just pull that back. That's not bad from that distance, and I've got rid of that big shell because to me it was a bit of a distraction. So let's bring on the next lot. So I've got my two Aquaman figures on camera now. Arthur Curry, one in the traditional look of Aquaman. I'll come in close on him first. I like that. I'm going to pose him out again because we're not going to leave these guys straight away. I like to see what I can create with them. And this is early days for me. I've only had a few hours messing about on the flight stand, but I quite like that look. And I think the likeness here is a lot better than the original release for the Justice League where he kind of looked a bit Neanderthal. I think this is closer to Jason Momoa's likeness, and I do like it. And that's him in that suit, and we're going to come over to the version of him in the stealth suit. And both of these figures are from the Aquaman 2 movie, and I bought him originally when I saw him because he was £10, and then I changed my mind and decided to get him as well because he was £10. And so, as I said earlier, was King Kordax. So I got 3 McFarlane figures for £30, which is a bargain because they retail at £25 each. So that's them posed out, and I'm going to put them into different poses after I pause the camera and have a look at it one last time. But yeah, I do like that. So let's pull back the camera, and they look great together like that. The trouble is, when you put them in my display cabinets, because of the height of the flight stands, it's kind of difficult to try and get them in there. So it might be a case of like taking them out of the cabinets and relocating them somewhere in my home. But it'd be worth it to create this effect. So yeah, let's go and create another pose and move it on. Okay. So this is the final pose with these two figures. It's quite easy actually to get these guys into different dynamic poses. They're very articulate. Let's come to stealth suit Aquaman, and it's good that he's got gripping hands there because you can do a lot more with the trident, I suppose. And I do like that look. I've swapped him on to the other side of the platform, but I love this figure. And I like the detail they've put on that suit. And I recently watched the film again, and it's sad that they kind of changed the storyline because they never pursued the Justice League storyline, so they kind of capped it off with that film. And I can take it or leave it, because the original Aquaman film with this guy was really good. I liked it, with Ocean Master, his brother. But at the end of the day, if they do revisit it, I'm not sure if they will, it would be good to see what suits they put on the character of Arthur Curry. But he has gripping hands, so it's great to pose him out in the combat poses. So we're going to come over to my favourite version of him. And he's got a fighting fist, he doesn't have 2 gripping hands, but that's not a problem. I've posed him a lot and he looks great. And it's great to see him this way. I was going to bring out my very first Aquaman acquisition, who looked like this, but he was the animated one. He had the same suit, and you would have seen him on a review I did earlier on a couple of months ago. But at the end of the day, you know, when I got this guy and that guy there, I was happy to have them for the price I got them. So I'm going to take these guys off the stand and bring out one more figure for you and leave it there. So this is the final figure you'll see on camera, and what can I say? A couple of years back when I spotted this guy, I had the opportunity to get the movie versions of the Black Manta from the Aquaman films, and they were actually dropping down in price. But then I saw this guy, Todd McFarlane's release from the Punch comic wave, and I thought, this is a Black Manta I like, and I know he's a kind of favourite with the fans, and I love this guy. I love the trident, I like the look of him. Very simple look and design, but looks great in your display. And I've posed him out, as you've seen on previous footage, with my Aquaman in combat mode. And I just love this figure. Very articulate, and definitely one who deserves to be on a flight stand. And I'd like to do a review one time where I've got one of my Aquaman on a flight stand with Black Manta fighting it out as though they're in the sea. So I'm going to do a couple of poses with this guy because he's one of my favourite things in the Aquaman wave. And I'll put the camera on pause and show you the additional weaponry he comes with. So I'll just pull that camera back to that pose and put in the additional weaponry. So what I've done now is added the weaponry to the gauntlets, and that's how he came. And you can either pose him with those those blades on the gauntlets, or you don't have to. And because he's got a gripping hand, in my McFarlane's accessory pack I've got a couple of futuristic looking weapons, so I have posed him with those weapons, but you won't see that today. What you're seeing is basically the complete figure and as it came in the package. He also came with the comic, and I do like the Punch comic wave because I've also got a John Constantine, which I will review at some point. And there's also another wave I'm after from that line, which is the Batman wave, where they're kind of ancient looking. You get a Robin and a Batwoman and a Batman. But it's all about this guy today, and I do like the way he looks. So I think I'll do one more pose, and I'm going to harness that trident onto the back of the figure, because that is possible. Not that it was intentionally meant to be that way, but I found a way to hook it on the back of the figure because I like that dynamic. So let's try that. So we've got one more pose to come after this, but I've hooked the trident on the back of the figure so you can see those blades on the gauntlets. Let's get some angle shots. I do like the way it looks on camera, and what I tend to do when I start posing figures that I'm happy with, I kind of have loads of things racing into my head, but I'm trying to keep this short and sweet. And what I try and do is try and get around the back of the figure to show you where the trident is, and there you can see it. There's some air hoses coming off the helmet onto some tanks, and I've looped the trident in there, and it works. It stays secure, and I do like how it looks. So what I'll do now for the last pose is put that weapon in his hand that I referred to earlier. So this is the final pose. I'll come in close and show you that weapon. You might have seen this weapon posed with my blade figure, because I just thought it kind of reminded me that weapon from what Blade actually uses in the movie. But I will be getting the new Blade soon from the Deadpool Wolverine movie, and I'll be posing him with those weapons that I'm referring to that you do see him use in the movie. Even though I wish they had that Blade with the coat, it is the version of him you see in Deadpool and Wolverine. But getting back to this guy, that's him with that weapon, and I think it suits the figure, but I won't leave that weapon with him. I'll put it back with my Blade figure, and I do one more pose and I'll leave it there. So guys, that's your last one. Basically, I've extended that arm so you can see that dynamic. I do like that, and I've also got him kind of sideways on so you can see more of how the trident looks on that figure. And what I might do is create a bit of ambience. I'm going to turn down the lights because I am curious to see what it looks like in a deeper dark light setting. So let me just end the footage with the lights changed out. Yeah, different, not really, it's not really that different, but yeah. That's it then, guys and girls. That's my Black Manta, and today's figures that you saw, they will be going on flight stands because I like the fact that a lot of figures like Superman, which I've posed on platforms before, they tend to look better when they're on flight stands, and having put these figures up today for the review, I think these guys need flight stands also. So at some point you will see these guys back again, and I'm also going to be reviewing the Green Lanterns on flight stands. And on that note, I'll say thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.